Hello students, welcome to OSN Academy. I am Spotlight and I'm here to focus on important topics or points covered in this lecture. Okay, so today's lecture is on literary criticism. We will cover what is criticism, what to read, Aristotle, and Purgation and Purification Theory. Wait a minute before we move ahead and we reach to our lecture. Pause this video, take a pen and a paper to make notes, and most important, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you get all the notification. Okay, let's get started.
Hi students, today I am going to start a very difficult topic for most of the students, and that is literary criticism, which I'll try to give it you in a very simple language and in a very concentrated and precise manner so that you may be able to communicate yourself. Your mind should be nourished that what is criticism and what has to be read in this unit, which is there in your new syllabus also. So, first of all, today we will understand the concept of Aristotle's theory. Aristotle, as you know, he is a great master, he is a great classic, and his theory of catharsis. So, Aristotle, who has used the term catharsis only once, एक बार उसने इस्तेमाल किया था, but no phrase, probably even in the ancient times or even in the modern literature, has been handled by us, by the teachers, by the professors, by the critics, and even by the poets. And innumerable explanations have always been given on this term catharsis. Now we will understand the theory of purgation. What is purgation theory? Purgation, which denotes a pathological effect on the soul and which has an effect of the medicine on the body, and by some process it has been likened to a homeopathic treatment, and this view is borne out by a passage in his work Poetics, where Aristotle refers to religious frenzy, and important critics like Twining and Barney, they also opine that catharsis is actually a kind of homeopathic treatment. If we talk about the new classical era, catharsis was taken to be like an allopathic treatment, and the arousing of pity, fear was supposed to bring about purgation, like the purgation of emotions, evacuation of emotions like anger, pride, and so many things. Now, we will also understand here some interpretations, and those interpretations which are psychological. First of all, there was a critic, F.L. Lucas. He has rejected the idea that catharsis, as used by Aristotle, is actually a medical metaphor, and he has written the theater is not a hospital. And if we talk about Lucas and one more critic, Herbert Reed, they regard it as a kind of safety value where pity and fear are aroused, and because of this pity and fear we give free play to these emotions, which we cannot do in the real life, and this is supposed to be a outlet of these emotions, which ultimately gives us emotional relief. And what is the ethical view of this system? Ethical, the moral, that is, in tragedy, the tragedy basically makes us realize that the divine law operates in the universe, and that shapes everything for the best. And if we talk about during the Renaissance, Robert Tello suggested that tragedy helped to temper the emotions. And जैसे हमारे जो सोल्जर्स होते हैं वो अपने डेथ के घबराहट को ओवरकम करते हैं when they see it frequently on the battlefield. So the same thing is with the spectators. They become hardened. How? While watching the pitiable and the fearful events of life by witnessing them in tragedies. So this is very true. And what is purification theory? Purification theory is which involves the idea of moral instruction and moral learning. It is a kind of moral conditioning which the spectators undergo. And as far as catharsis is concerned, catharsis is something which educates us, which controls us, and tragedy arouses pity, fear from potentiality to actually through the suitable stimuli, where it controls and trains them by directing them to the right objects in the right way. So this is what is purification theory. And next is where I'm going to tell you about something that how these theories are inadequate. As far as the purgation theory or the purification theory explains the whole thing, and the basic defects of these theories is that they are very much occupied with the psychology of the audience and the speculation of the audience that what will be the effect of tragedy on those who come to the theater. Unka kya hoga? It is forgotten that Aristotle was writing a treatise not on psychology but on the art of poetry. He is more concerned with the technique, the way in which an ideal tragedy can be written and its nature than with its psychology or psychological effects. Somebody has indicated Aristotle's meaning of the word catharsis as provided by the Poetics. While writing of the pleasure of the imitative art in chapter 4, a critic has said that the pleasure produced in associating with the learning, that is, a pleasure enjoyed by men as well as by the philosopher. And the merits of the classification theory, what are the merits of this classification theory? It has many merits. सबसे पहले, it interprets the clause as a reference to the techniques of the tragedy and not to the psychology of the audience, and thus recognizes the true nature of the poetics. And secondly, this theory is based on what Aristotle has said in his book, The Poetic itself, which needs not the help and support of what Aristotle has said in his other works. And what are these other works? Politics and Ethics. Next is where Francis Ferguson has used the word perception, Perception, perception. James Joyce epiphany, and Austin Warren uses rage of order. And they have all used these words to indicate the nature of the satisfaction or the pleasure which is derived from tragedy. Clear? So this purgation and purification is basically incidental, and we cannot forget, we have to remember that according to Aristotle, the basic tragic emotion are pity, fear. Why? Because these both are painful emotions. If tragedy is to give pleasure, the pity and fear, or at least the painful element in them, must somehow or the other be eliminated. Fear is aroused when we see someone suffering and think that a similar fate might befall us also, which creates a lot of pain in our heart and mind. And pity is a feeling of pain caused by the sight of the undeserved suffering of others, suffering which we might expect on behalf of us. Yeah, to behalf of us also. And pity and fear are basically reciprocal and painful. So, this you have to understand the basics of Aristotle's catharsis. In the last, I can sum up with few lines that Aristotle's conception of catharsis is mainly intellectual. It is not theological, as tragedy has its basis in religious rituals. It is not even a moral doctrine requiring the tragic poet to show that bad men come to bad ends. There are many connotations of the experience which are not covered by Aristotle's treatment and which cannot be rationally explained. But the clarification theory comes closer to define the essential quality of tragic experience than didactic theological explanations. So now we are moving ahead on a major part of Aristotle's chapter, that is his plot, what he has written about the plot, various kinds of plot, which is a very significant area. First of all, students, what is tragedy? Tragedy is something which is representing any action. And what is that action? Action consists of incidents and lot of events. So, when we arrange these incidents and events in a proper systemized way, it is a plot. So, what we can say? That plot is something which contains the main system of action and development and incidents. And a person who is writing tragedy or the play, his main business is to represent that thing in the best possible way. And to represent it in the best possible way, the most important primary thing is to give the plot. If plot is not proper, the story or the system which is going to develop upon the plot will not be good. What is the difference between a plot and a story? The Greek word for poet, it means a maker. And so the poet is a maker. Banane wala. He is a maker not because he is writing verses or making verses, but because he makes plots. And Aristotle has differentiated between a story and a plot. The poet needs not make his story. It would be better if he chooses a traditional story and then proceeds to make his own plot. Stories are taken from history, stories are taken from mythology, they are taken from legends, they are familiar, unfamiliar, sometimes easy to understand, and accordingly the poet or the maker characterizes it. So, relevant incidents and relevant situations are to be selected and properly arranged so that they follow each other necessarily. And the incidents chosen must be serious, have some weight, of some importance, should not be trivial. Why? Because tragedy is the imitation of a serious action. So we can say that the incidents should be serious and serious in such a way which is likely to arouse tragic emotions of pity and fear. Next, Aristotle has laid down about the tragic plot, about the plot, that it should be a complete whole. And by this word complete, he means that the plot should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, beginning, middle, and end is very important. Very important. After the beginning comes the middle, and a middle is something that is in process, in consequence upon a situation that has already gone, and which is to be followed by a climax, by a catastrophe. And what is a middle? Middle is something which comes between the first incident and the last incident. And finally, the middle is followed by the end. And the end is that which is consequent upon a situation which is going on, and the middle must follow naturally upon how the beginning was, and must lead towards the end, towards the catastrophe, towards the climax in a proper logical manner. So, this total artistic wholeness of the various incidents implied by the writer, events, situations, this forms a plot. Now, we will understand what is magnitude. Aristotle has questioned magnitude. मैग्नीट्यूड को हिंदी में कह सकते हैं उसकी गहराई. सपोज करिए मैंने आपसे कहा आप कितना सीरियस है पढ़ाई करने में, आपका मैग्नीट्यूड क्या है, मीन्स हाउ मच सीरियस यू आर, कितना डेप्थ है उसके अंदर. सो द प्लॉट अकॉर्डिंग टू एरिस्टोटल must have a certain magnitude, certain line in length, certain size. ना तो वो बहुत छोटा होना चाहिए, ना तो बहुत बड़ा होना चाहिए, and it should be something like a process where the changes are going to occur from happiness to misery, and from the beginning properly and completely developing, and then finally encountering as a climax. Why? Because suppose if the beginning is too long, then the audience or the spectator or the reader would forget before he comes to the end. And suppose it is too small, then the different parts he would not be able to distinguish. So within these limits, the plots should be large, but large in connection, in respect to the reader's observation and the understandability. It depends on the requirement also, upon the storyline also, and it is the plot itself, not the audience, not the judges, that should determine the magnitude or the size of the plot. Because each and every drama is unique in itself. It is basically, you can say, a poetic craftsmanship, where one craft, one plot cannot be related to the other plot. So, magnitude implies that the plot must have proper order, proper logic, symmetry to get that level of magnitude. Now, the next point which comes here is organic unity. What is organic unity? Aristotle has conceived the plot idea or a tragedy as an organic whole, and also having the organic unity in its action. And what is an action? It is basically a process from happiness to misery or misery to happiness. And the tragedy must depict, it must show only one such action. There can be innumerable examples and incidents and events, but together, finally, they have to constitute only one, and that is only one action. The incidents, they are imparting lot of variety, lot of results according to the incidents they have been arranged, and so they finally end to some catastrophe, some climax. So the plot must have some organic unity, the unity which a living creature has. Clear? So the plot must have variety, but एक धागे में पिरोया होना चाहिए. जैसे मान लीजिए एक डोरा है, डोरे में एक मोती है, एक कुछ और है, एक कुछ और है. There are certain things in a string and it is all in unity. एक है तो variety भी है, but it still has a unity. So according to Aristotle, the plot must have variety but have a single unity, and this unity arises from the very fact that the first event, every incident what is happening should have a logical connection with the rest of the action, and nothing is irrelevant. Moreover, there also can be episodes if necessary. Why? Because episodes sometimes impart a variety to the play, and they also try to give you some length of the plot, but it should be integrated properly with the main action. अगर हम उस एपिसोड को हटा देते हैं तो उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम आनी चाहिए. मीन्स it must not be possible to remove them. If we try to remove those subplots, it will provide injury to the plot. Understood? जैसे हमारे शरीर का हर पार्ट चिन्हित है, कहां पे क्या है. किसी भी पार्ट को आप छुएंगे, कहीं से कुछ काटेंगे तो वो प्रॉपर अरेंजमेंट नहीं हो जाएगा और आपको प्रॉब्लम देगा. इसलिए जो सब प्लॉट्स हैं या एपिसोड्स हैं वो भी हम उसको रिमूव नहीं कर सकते विदाउट कॉजिंग इंजरी टू द प्लॉट. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड द ऑर्गेनिक यूनिटी which cannot be provided only by the presence of the tragic hero. It cannot be provided. For many incidents may happen in the life of the hero which cannot be brought into relation with the rest. So there should be proper shifting and the ordering of the material. He can handle time more freely. So this is what is the organic as a whole. Now we will talk about the unities. Unities में क्या है? हम लोग ने अभी तक ये पढ़ा that what is emphasized by Aristotle about the unity of action, and he has little to say about the unity of time and unity of place. This is a very important thing, that Aristotle has always emphasized on the unity of action, but he has little to say about the unity of time and unity of place. If we talk about the unity of time, he merely says in his poetics that tragedy should confine itself to a single revolution of the sun, and no law is implied here. No law. As regards the unity of place, Aristotle has mentioned, when comparing the epic and the tragedy, that epic can narrate a number of actions which goes on simultaneously in different parts, but in drama such simultaneous actions cannot be presented, for stage is one part, that is one place, not several parts or places. So today I'm going to end this lecture here.
Thank you. Any doubts? Comment below, or you can call and WhatsApp on these numbers.